we have, do you remember, who was last year at TechCrunch? Raise your hand. Seriously, don't be shy. No, it's very important. I have to know exactly. Who was last year at TechCrunch? Okay. Who is here for the first time? Okay, wow, good. So last year, basically, there was one company that launched at TechCrunch Italy, and then they got an amazing success. I mean, I saw them winning around, so they were very, very good. And I even have my kid, 13 years old, he was talking to me the other day and say, hey, Dad, let's try this app. And it was exactly this app. It's Atooma. And so if you were at TechCrunch last year, you remember those ladies. They're doing a great job. And they will have a fire chat with the one and only Mike Butcher. So Mike, please let Mike on stage.
Hello everyone. My name is Mike. So, Gioia Pistola, who is the co-founder of Atooma. Now, Atooma was a startup that launched last year at TechCrunch Italy. And I think it was very unusual. I wrote about it on TechCrunch. It was a very fascinating, kind of actually quite genuinely original idea. Which was exciting, actually, and I was raving about it to everyone I met, actually, afterwards, and wrote a post about it on TechCrunch. Because I think it's something that is sort of the marriage of software, apps, and potentially the Internet of Things as well. But, Gioia, let's talk about the history behind it, what happened with you guys. So, tell us about what you did before Atooma, and then we'll start to talk about what Atooma is, what it's capable of doing, things like that.
One year and a half ago, I didn't know anything about startup. I didn't know what a startup means. I just heard about startups, Silicon Valley, and so on. So I started typing in Google, and I found out that in Italy, a program was run by Augusto Coppola is the founder of Innovation Lab, one of the first startup schools in Italy. So I decided to join. I sent out my CV, and at the same time, Francesca, that today is my co-founder, the CEO of Atooma, did the same thing. We didn't know each other. So as I started doing this startup program, I met Francesca, and let's say that this program aimed to teach wannabe startupper in a very weird way, in a very hard way, what means building a team, what means pitching in front of investors. And Francesca had an idea at that time. And her idea was about a new interface for mobile devices. So a new interface that suggested upcoming functionalities to mobile devices. But it was just a user interface, it was just a user experience thesis degree. And when I met her, I said, this is awesome. And I think that we should do it for real. We should make it become a real product. And so we started building the team inside Innovation Lab. And so we became 4 people. So me, Francesca, Fabrizio, our CTO, and Andrea, our creative officer. And so everything started from there.
I mean, it's amazing to think that a year ago you didn't know what a startup was, and now here you are, you're raising money for Atooma, you've won a startup competition, you had a lot of press. So let's talk a little bit more about how you, so you obviously had the idea. Now, for those of people who don't know what Atooma is, can you explain to them what it does and how you started out the actual product?
Yeah. When we started Atooma, we had this idea to revolutionize how people use the mobile. And so we started building Atooma as an application for Android devices that allow users to create new rules, to create commands on their devices. Commands like, if something happens, do something else. For example, if I arrive at office, put the silent mode if I have meetings, or if I'm driving and I receive an email, read it by voice command just because I'm driving. And the application knows all this kind of stuff. So this was our first version of the product, a real smart assistant, a real magician on your devices. Then we understood that this was a bit weak because it's very new idea, it's very disruptive idea, but most of the people don't want to create rules, don't want to create smart actions, even if they say that it's really cool. But actually they don't want to do that because they don't want to think about their needs. So what we said was, okay, now we need to build a community where early adopters and geek people inspire common people. So we asked our early adopters, so today we have more than 200,000 of users that create smart actions for real life. So for example, for office, for home, for photo sharing, or whatever. And other people, let's say most common people, like my friends or my mother, can simply look for things that could be useful for their life. So for example, I have to go to office. How can I make this experience smarter? So I just to browse the community, browse, let's say, a wall, and then with a simple one click, download the best smart action for your life. And this has been the second stage of Atooma. And later, thanks to our, let's say, our many travels to Silicon Valley, we met lots of people, we met a lot of investors and advisors, and we got a lot of feedback about what was cool in our technology and what was not cool in our business model. So we thought about that and we said, okay, maybe we have a problem and we need to, this technology is very powerful, but we need to understand to whom this technology brings value.
So something saying you had a big idea, but basically to make the mobile phones, specifically Android platform, far more intelligent, so that I want to go to my office. I want it to sense that I am now moving at 50 miles an hour. Obviously, I can't run that fast, so I must be in a car. So therefore, it flips to automatically reading my emails rather than reading my emails out loud, rather than me having to use them on text. Kind of things like that. You basically you created an app store. You kind of created an app store effectively on your platform. Yeah. And this is very interesting to me because I think a lot of startups think of themselves as an app in their own right, rather than creating a platform for other developers and other startups to leverage. And that effectively what you did is you created a platform.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Was there any incentive for developers and engineers to create apps on Atooma themselves? Did you think about monetizing that kind of like an app store?
Yeah, we thought about this, and but to be honest, our thought was that we needed a different way to monetize our technology, and we start talking with both developers, consumers, and companies like HTC, like Samsung, like LG, like automotive companies, home appliances companies. We talked with lots of people, and we understood that our platform is much more valuable for this kind of companies that want to create a context-aware layer around their customers. So from one side, we are working on our consumer application. We will involve developers. We will release our APIs to allow others to build things inside Atooma. So for example, if developers have a weather application, it can make weather application communicate with Atooma and say, okay, if I usually run in the morning, but it's going to change the weather, then make an alert just because I'm going to run, and Atooma knows that. So we offer different enhanced opportunities to developers for their content. And this is about the consumer world. But what we are working on is improving our technology as a platform. What does it mean, actually? We're building a context-aware platform where we are able to collect together contents, and contents, I mean application or other kind of contents. Think about venues in restaurants or menus, and connect this together with connected devices.
So effectively, you had a consumer product your consumers started to use it, you got feedback from the consumers of how they were using it, and the developers were creating apps on Atooma. But then you realized that although you had a very interesting consumer application, what the bigger opportunity here is the enterprise and getting businesses to use your platform to create more services for their businesses or for their customers. So now you're going to be pivoting towards the enterprise, and you're raising money. Is that right?
Yeah. Until today, we raised money from incubators and accelerators. We've been accelerated by here in Rome at the very beginning by Labs, and later by Mandeseed. Thanks to Mandeseed, we went to Silicon Valley for 3 months. And later we had a very good relationship with another US-based accelerator, that is Rocket Space. And let's say thanks to all this path, we raised additional angel money. But now we're raising our, let's say, first round to bring our technology to the next level. We got our first customer, that is Samsung. So I think this is a good, let's say, validation about the product and about even the business model.
What was it like? A year ago, not knowing what a startup was, and then winning a startup competition, and then going to Silicon Valley, and then creating a product and pivoting. I mean, what's it been like? What are some of the key things that you could tell people here about what it's like to be inside a startup when things like that happen?
I'd say that some days like to be in paradise, and other days like to be in hell. So there is no average feelings, I think. So, and the most difficult things is...
It's either fantastic or terrible. There's nothing in the middle.
So it depends on the day when you ask me this. But today, of course, I think that it's awesome. And the most hard thing is to keep everyone excited about your business and about your product, even if sometimes we are not excited because maybe something bad is happening, but maybe the day after something great is happening because a customer replied to you and said, okay, I want your technology. And you have always to keep people excited about you and about your product, even inside the team and outside the team, with potential, advisors, anyone, because anyone can help you in some way. So you can never know if a people knows any investors. And if you don't look really excited with that people, maybe you can lose a chance. So I'd say that it's awesome journey, but requires a lot of patience because it doesn't happen overnight. And this is extremely true.
So it's fascinating you should say that, because I think a lot of times entrepreneurs have to really use their own energy to stay enthusiastic about their company and their startup and their product. I mean, what happens when things go bad and what are the tough times? I mean, when you talk to investors, for instance, are they generally positive about it? I mean, do you get what's it like getting negative feedback, for instance?
In the beginning, when we started raising money, we felt that everyone thought about we had a very cool technology, but they didn't figure out how to make money from this technology. So they said, okay, you're very good at building product, you have a very genius idea, but of course I'm an investor and I need a return on this investment, so I want to see big numbers. So later, talking with companies, we understood that there was a very big value because, for example, network operators need to deliver content in a very smart way in the condition that the user is living, because we give them back the power to monetize content in an intelligent way, because let's say that the application stores model cannot live forever, so we need an alternative. And so starting thinking a new business model and pitching the new business model and showing traction, they became much more interested. So now we're getting finally positive feedback, but it took some months.
What do you think flipped the switch on being able to raise funding and money around your startup for investors? Was it flipping to the enterprise model? Was it showing more traction? What was it?
I think that the trigger for investors has been the change in the business model, actually, and the interest of a big company, our first technological partner. This has been really important.
Big.
Yeah, this has been really important because they need to see, so they understand the vision. They understand that...
This is Samsung gear, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, because Atooma has been presented at IFA event in Berlin where Samsung launched the first gear smartwatch. And Atooma is the first and the unique context-aware service to be integrated in the smartwatch. And this has been a very, let's say, awesome news for us. It took many months to negotiate with Samsung about that, but finally happened. And then we started contacting all our previous contacts and say, okay, you can see that this technology can work with cool product, with connected devices, and we were able to create, even if we are horizontal platform, we were able to create vertical use cases interesting for companies. So this was a very important triggers for investors and even for other companies too. For example, we are talking with automotive companies because actually we were able to create verticals on automotive space. So I think we will work on this in the next week.
So really what we're talking about here is that in the future we'll be having a watch with, ideally what you want to happen, right, is that you run a platform, the Atooma platform, that's also available on wearable devices like Google Glass or smartwatch, and it alerts you to things, you know, it knows you're walking or it knows you're on public transport. So there are lots of things that you no longer have to do. You know, you don't have to interface with something because it's much more self-aware.
Yeah.
And that's quite a big vision, isn't it?
Yeah, the big shift has been from a product where people have to think about what they need. And then we shift to a concept, to a vision where people don't have to think. So we have a so smart technology able to sense what you're doing during your daily life and understand your routines, because basically what we want to automate are routines. So we understand the routines, and then we suggest to you the best fitting action for that moment, and we say, and we can relate even contents to that. Think about, I don't know, if I'm going to run in the morning, then I have a certain calorie consumption, and in the evening I go to a restaurant, and then the best menu can be shown to me automatically, because the system knows all my daily life, all my daily routines, and maybe at home can suggest to me the best sport TV program on my smart TV. So everything could become, let's say, related in a smart way. It's not only a matter of communication between devices, but it's a smart understanding of these devices, of the life across devices and across contents. So,
fascinating. Are there any questions at this point? If there aren't, I'll just wrap it up a little bit. If there are any questions. How are you going to be able to get customers for this? You've got Samsung as a partner. What happens when Apple does a smartwatch? I mean, Apple is famously closed in its ecosystem, isn't it? And it's. Do you think that you're going to be able to work with Apple devices in the future? What?
Well, right now we are working on smartphones. We are working only on Android OS. But for example, for smartwatch, let's say, yes, it's always an Android OS, but really customized by Samsung. So we're able to talk with actually every kind of operating system, but right now we don't care about the iOS system because, as you told, it's closed, but you know that the 75% of the market share of Android is very big. And we are open also to other operating systems. For example, we are talking with QNX. It's bought by BlackBerry in 2010. So it's another operating system that is integrated in more than 150 kind of car models. So it's a very big market. And so usually people only think about, okay, there is Android, okay, there is iOS, and this is true. But if you think about the scalability of open operative system platform like Android or like would be, let's say, Tizen, so there is a very big market. And you don't need to cover necessarily all the operative system if you're able to, let's say, extract the value of this big market. So,
do you think that you might have competitors in the future?
Say it again?
Do you think you have competition, people trying to do similar things?
Oh, okay. The only competitor that we, let's say, not fear, but we care about, and we keep always an eye, is If This Then That. If This Then That is a company based in San Francisco, and they build, let's say, a mashup of web APIs when you can build up tasks based on web applications. And we differentiate from lot of, let's say, lot of things, because basically we are a platform that are able to talk also with contents and not only with web mashups and with native functionalities. And this is because we started on Android. So this is an advantage from our side. And we're able to talk with hardware and so on. By the way, I think that they have a very interesting product, but there are no other kind of product, this kind of platforms out in the market. There are a lot of applications, lot of native applications that make automatic stuff, but it's not scalable. So this is why we decided to go beyond being an application.
Great. Well, it's been a fascinating journey. It's great that a year ago you didn't even know what a startup was, and now here you are right in the middle of it. So it's absolutely brilliant to see a success story like this come from Italy. So thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.